Hey, everybody, it's Joel Peterson with the Crypto Code. Hope you guys are doing well today. I've got a very special guest, Mr. Max Wright, here on the line. How you doing, Max?
Very well, thank you, Joel. Thanks for having me.
Good. Hey, I'm going to officially introduce him here in just a moment, but I just want to welcome you guys all to check out this video today. Many of you guys know that we focus on a lot of bot trading, a lot of scalp trading, and we talk about some long-term investing as well, of course. But I wanted to bring Max on the line here because he is one of the foremost experts. He's been old dog in the house, been in the crypto markets for a long, long time, has a huge following, teaches a lot of people. He's helped a lot of people, basically understand this, if you want to call it a game, or understand the whole macro markets, and not only how to make some money maybe in the short term, but how to really build some wealth for the long term. So I just thought, hey, we were chatting the other day. I thought, hey, let's just jump on a call real quick. Let me just bring you online and let's just chat. Let's talk crypto. Let's talk about building wealth. So thanks for being here today, Max.
You're very welcome, and thanks for all that you do. I think I use your tools as well, and I think it's great for producing the income, and that's great. And then I kind of concentrate on the wealth building, and it's just a great symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, awesome. Super excited you're here. And there's a handful of people that I follow online and that I've actually met in person. I will say you're one of the top people I've ever met that your stuff, what you're doing. I mean, my BS meter goes off when I meet different people, and I'm like, Max is right down the line. You're the good guy, so super excited to have you here. So let's go ahead, just start right in. Just kind of maybe give us a quick little snippet of your background, how you got started, and then let's dive into kind of more of that talk about what we talked about. Yes, it's great to make some money in the short term, but let's talk about building that true wealth in crypto. So.
Gotcha. Well, the quick little background is, for whatever reason, I was very lucky in timing and in interest. So I always had an interest in money at a very base level. I remember asking my economics teacher in high school. I was like, so if everyone emptied their pockets in the year 1900, and it's emptied all the bank accounts, and we counted all that money up, and if they did the same thing today and counted up all that money, there's way more money. So where does money come from? And my high school economics teachers couldn't answer the question, just didn't know. I went to engineering school at the University of Sydney, and then I walked over to the economics department and asked those, and I still didn't get a great answer. I wasn't really happy with the answer I got there. It was a little bit better answer. But then I kind of found some people online who really knew, and so they answered my question. I've been a monetary scientist and just had a passion for this project and this understanding about what really is money from way before Bitcoin. I mean, I'm talking like in my high school years. So that piece of information and that passion would have been pretty much absolutely useless for hundreds and hundreds of years. But very fortunately for me, that interest and that passion led me to a point in history where Satoshi Nakamoto goes and invents a tool that solves the world's biggest problem, which is the corruption of money, how broken the money is, how it serves the certain people and disserves the vast majority of people, and how it creates so many of the world's problems. And so I was able to see that very, very early. But given my history, given my passion, when I first heard about Bitcoin, it was in 2012, and I got a little bit too cool for school. And the only reason I wanted to hear about Bitcoin was to tell the person why their magic internet money was never going to work, and it was a silly idea. But as I got into it, it just answered every single question I had. And then I thought, oh my God, we finally have something to defeat this corrupt system. And I just went all in and been passionate about it as fast as I could. I created a course because that was my background. I created courses teaching people things. I get a little bit OCD. I get really passionate. I go really deep. I become an absolute expert at weird random topics. And then I made courses teaching those topics. And it's been different things over the years. But in 2012, I learned about Bitcoin. By early 2013, when the price was about $12, $13, I got my first course out teaching people about Bitcoin and why it was going to take over the world. Why one day, at the time, I said one day it'll be worth $10,000 a coin at the time. But I mean, I just think that there is no ceiling to where Bitcoin go, because quite frankly, there's no floor to where the US dollar will go. And so with that in mind, I know Bitcoin is going to do very, very, very well for a very long time. I went all in, both in career and in my wealth.
Nice. Someday we'll have to have a history dive deep into when Bitcoin was $10, $12 when you first got started. It was like crazy times. That's another time for another. But you had the vision. I guess that's what I would have loved what you just said, because I think a lot of people sitting here right now, they look at the price right now and they think, oh man, how could it ever get any higher than this? But I think they're going to be very, very surprised in the future, So let's talk about that, because, here I am, a lot of our viewers are people that maybe don't have the vision yet, or they're new and they just want to make some money now, right? They want to do some of our bot strategies. They want to do some swing trading. They want to do some scalping, and that's all great. And we make a lot of money with that. However, what is it, let's talk about the actual long-term wealth, the kind of vision for this, or let's, have you go ahead and direct where you want to go with this, because this is I'll turn the floor to you, where you think would be best to serve our audience. So.
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, I think it's very important in wealth building is you need to have both sides of the equation. You need to have cash flow. You need to have a way to make money. That can be in your job. It can be with trading skills. It can be anything. You need to have the income. And so however you do that in a good and efficient way, it's great. Focus on that. And you have some amazing tools and teach some amazing concepts to make that really easy for people. And those are great. I use them. They're awesome. But I think it's an important part of wealth building strategy that as you create wealth, well, now you have to do something where you invest that wealth. And there's also diversification. As passionate and as single focused on Bitcoin as I am, I do not have 100% of my wealth in Bitcoin and other cryptos and other things. Like I have real estate and I have a whole bunch of other things, right? So at a certain point, you need to diversify, and this is all part of a wealth building strategy that also is going to last for years. It's going to last for your lifetime. It's going to last for generations, hopefully. So I think a really important, good component to start is getting the cash flow sorted, getting income one way or another. But then you have to learn at some point how to invest your money and how to put it somewhere where it's going to grow, and that you've got to take into account tax effects. So one of the best things, it's just absolutely beautiful about Bitcoin. It's never been so easy. I mean, we'll jump to the end. I'll come back to the beginning and we'll go why one might want to make Bitcoin an important part of their strategy, their wealth building strategy. But just to jump to the end here, it's never been so easy that you just buy this thing and it grows tax-free and is the best investment of the last decade, and in my opinion will probably be one of the best investments of the next decade. So it's never been that easy. It's crazy. We're living in blessed times. But here is the challenge to it. You do have to have an enormous amount of knowledge, and the knowledge gives you the courage. And the courage gives you the ability to ride the storm, to ride those 70, 80, 90% drawdowns, which Bitcoin does. And so it's with that knowledge that you get that ability to ride through that storm and come out the other end and go through several cycles, as I have. And all of a sudden you look at your net worth and you're like, my goodness, this is whoever thought it would come to this?
Yeah,
but
it's interesting because I'm a big Bitcoin maxi at heart. Bitcoin's the top. It's there. Altcoins, I like them. You know why I like altcoins? Because I can make more money to put into Bitcoin. That's my philosophy. I just love Bitcoin. I love all crypto, but I look at it as they're so volatile, and most of them will probably never be around in 5 years. The ones, it'll be a handful of big ones. But why not take advantage and learn what you just said? Get some knowledge. It's worth it to jump in and get some knowledge, and then start learning how the professionals do it, learning the real way to do this. Not just like you want to be the opposite of the herd. I guess that's the point, because there is a way to do this to protect yourself from, not having to go through these huge drawdowns, or at least not with your whole portfolio. There's smart ways to do this. But I will say this, I have different investment strategies myself, and some of the Bitcoin that I had that I got early on, that I had mined back in the early days when Bitcoin was like $300. And then I kind of forgot that it was there, and I never touched it, never traded it. That's been my biggest gain right there, because I didn't mess with it. I didn't mess with it, and it just went up and just has done just incredible numbers over the years. So I look at that and I go, it's always good to have this balanced portfolio of how you do your investing. So
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. What would you say for a new person that's getting started and they just don't know what to do? They want to make some money, the short term, long term, but what would you give someone some advice to if they're just getting started? How do they get this knowledge? I guess I would say that.
For sure. So yeah, let's focus on this. How to get that knowledge, and I think I kind of laid out the path. The knowledge gives you the courage, and courage gives you the results. So it starts with the knowledge, and so I would suggest people. The number one question that people, this is the big difference between the people who really go on and stick with crypto, even if they bought it the worst possible time, they bought it at the peaks, and I've been around for all the peaks. Even if they get it, they're rich today. They just are. They're just rich today. It's as simple as that. If they get it. So your number one focus is to get it. And so what does get it mean? The question I would suggest that you just spend your time and energy research finding out is, what problem does Bitcoin solve? Like, to me, this is like value investing. It's like Warren Buffett is not a Bitcoin fan, I know, but it's basically the same concept. I just don't think he understands the problem that Bitcoin solves. But if you're investing in a company, or you invest in the stock market, or what problem does it solve? For how many people does it solve it? And what value does it deliver? Like, is it a big problem or a little problem? And when you understand that process, again, I'll jump to the end and give you the highlights, but I'll go back and fill in all the blanks for you. But by that I mean the viewer. I know you know all this stuff, Joel. But the problem that it solves is that money is one half of every transaction on the planet. No matter where you are on the planet, if you're buying a good or a service, money is half of that transaction. All right. And again, I'm giving you the highlights. I'll go back and fill in the blanks, but the money is corrupt. The money is broken in and of itself. You think it's a piece of paper with numbers written on it. What are you talking about, Max? I'll get to it in just a minute. But the money is corrupt. Just by virtue of you holding it, you are making other people rich and you're making yourself poor. And that's something that is like, what? It's a piece of paper. I work really hard for this. What are you talking about? I will get to it. But at the high level, that is the concept. It is. So what problem does it solve? It solves the problem that it is making the vast majority of the people on this planet very, very poor and very few rich. So if you want to get out of the poor bucket into the rich bucket, you need to learn this. How many people does it solve the problem for? Every single person on the planet. And what is the value to these people? I mean, it's literally life-changing. It's the difference between poor and rich. It is that simple. So in terms of, if you're just a value investor, and it's like, okay, as people discover this bit by bit, it's going to take over the world. It has to, if it can defend itself. I guess that's a caveat, and we'll get to that in just a second. So I think I've laid out an arc there for people. Now let me go back and I'll fill in a few blanks. I'll speak a little bit less cryptically, and I'll make it really crystal clear for people. Let's talk about inflation. We hear, the Fed says they're targeting 2% inflation. We hear, obviously, inflation is a huge buzzword now. Inflation's too high. It's causing too much pain. And we're not going to get down to 0%. We're going to try and go for 2% because 2% is going to grow the economy, and 2% is a wonderful number. Okay, let's understand what inflation is. Inflation, the original word of inflation, comes from inflating the money supply. It means the money supply got bigger. This goes back to the question that I luckily was passionate about as a teenager, is if we all empty our pockets now and 100 years ago, there's more money today. So how did the money supply get inflated? And the simple answer is it really doesn't matter who does it, where it does it, what country it's in. The point is those pieces of paper with numbers written on it get printed. Right? Today they're electronically printed, but for the good metaphor is they're getting printed. All right. And this is the huge leap. As soon as you get this, everything becomes crystal clear. Is that concept is counterfeiting. Counterfeiting is what? You go into your basement, you make up fake bits of money, and you go out and spend it. Right? Now let's stick on counterfeiting for a little bit. A lot of people think that everyone understands counterfeiting is illegal. They probably understand that most people think that the reason counterfeiting is illegal is because it's not fair. Someone got something for nothing. And this is not true. Someone does not get something for nothing. It's very important to understand that counterfeiting is theft. And it is theft for this reason. If I'm printing some money in my basement, right? Let's say the entire economy has $10 in it, and I go and print $1 million, right? That means everybody else's $10, their savings, just got made worthless because I can go and buy literally everything, and their $10 can't buy anything. Now, if I was going to counterfeit and do it at that level, it would be really stupid because everyone with savings would come and get me, and I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. So the smart thing for me to do would be to print a little bit, maybe print 5 pennies, maybe print 10 pennies, maybe print 50 cents every year. And that way I can just get money for nothing. I can start buying goods and services, and the value of your money is going down, but not by so much that it's mind-breaking, you notice it, and it's crippling, right? So to really drill this analogy home, I love to use an analogy about this, a soup. If you're in line for a soup, and let's say everyone's drinking out of this pot of soup, and it's a nice, nutritious meal, and that's how we're all eating. If you're at the front of the line, you drink a cup of soup, right? You drink the soup, you get nutrition from that soup, and then rather than just everyone drinking from the soup, they top up the soup with a little bit of water every time. Well, if you're the poor guy at the back of the line, by the time you get to the pot, you aren't having a nutritious meal, you are just having water, and you will die of malnourishment. This is the concept. If when they are printing money, you're sitting at home working for money, you are the guy at the end of the line dying of economic malnutrition. Because by the time you get the money that they printed and floated around, it is worth less. And the way they measure that is with inflation. Now, we've kind of jumped the hurdle here, and we understand that counterfeiting is actually theft. It's stealing purchasing power from people who have money. It is a theft. It is a theft that wealth flows from the people who have the money to the people who create money. It is a theft. Now, when you understand that, you understand, well, okay, so what is the government doing? Well, very simple. They just have the legalized monopolistic authority to counterfeit. No one else can counterfeit legally. They can counterfeit legally. So the mechanism is still the same. It's still a theft. If I put on a suit and counterfeit, it's still stealing. If I put on a suit and get people to vote for me for permission to counterfeit, it's still stealing. The mechanics are the same. So once you understand that, the governments, and it's actually not just a government, it's actually government and banking relationship. That relationship creates the money. When they do that, they steal. Simple as that. Now, they could print quadrillions of dollars in one day and literally steal everything off of everyone in a minute. And we would be angry, we would be starving, we would go and lynch them and kill them, and it would be, French Revolution types. They're not silly, they don't do it that way. They've got the goose that lays the golden egg that can steal as much as they want whenever they want it. What do? They steal a little bit every single year so that we don't get too upset and keep working. It is a grotesquely corrupt system. It is, and this is why I say money is corrupt. And this is the challenge that every single human being has. By mere virtue of the fact that you are holding dollars or yuan or euros or pesos or anything else, because every government on the planet does this, by mere value of you holding the currency, you are a massive victim of theft, and you are participating in corruption. And just as a little, I won't go too far down this path, but when these guys print lots of money, they can buy things. They don't once there's only a certain number of houses and Lamborghinis and things that you can buy, right? Private jets. There's only so much things you can buy. What do you buy? You buy things to protect yourself. You buy things like news organizations, right? So Jeff Bezos got a ton of money. He goes ahead and buys the Washington Post. Why? It helps create the narrative to protect him as being the big bad capitalist, whatever. It's an insurance policy for him. But the guys at the real top, these guys just buy up networks all over the planet. And the reason we have such a low faith in news is because it's not there to educate you. Someone for whom money had no value printed a whole bunch of money of it, buys up all the news networks, the movie houses, the newspapers. They buy it all, and they try and control narratives so that you never do that. They also go and put politicians in place and get them to take over education systems, and then don't teach children about money so that they can keep the money scam going. So this all kind of flows into an unbelievably corrupt world where things are not as they seem. And the amazing thing about the last 8 years watching this is so many more people understand that now. If I was to say that 10 years ago, I'm just an absolute tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist. Now people are like, oh yeah, that actually fits into exactly my world experience the last 5-10 years. So this foundational root piece, the corruption of money, leads into the corruption of everything: the education system, the media system, the banking system. It all falls under from this. This is the root, right? Money is the root of evil. Good money is not the root of evil, but bad money is the root of all evil. So that's just kind of an understanding of the gargantuan size of this problem. Okay, now I am not the first person to figure this out. approximately right now, I think it's incredible. I think probably somewhere in the order of 5 to 10% of the population have a pretty good understanding that this inflation thing is a problem and things like that. But for all of human history, it's usually less than 1% of people who understand the mechanics of money and the actual reality of what the hell is going on here. So the question is, how do they solve their problem? And now we're going to get into this is going to lead to why Bitcoin is so unbelievably groundbreaking and why it's the greatest gift to humanity that I can see. How do people try and solve the problem? Well, they had a very easy way to do that, in that they could save in gold. And a lot of people understood this. So it's like, okay, I see the value of my money going down every single year. I see that there's this lump of metal with no counterparty. I don't have to trust anybody. It's just this thing that's extremely liquid. I can go and buy it. I can go to anywhere in the world and I can sell it, and I've preserved my wealth. And I can hold this gold, and I can hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. And my great grandchildren are going to be rich because this thing is going to hold its value, right? So it's that holding of value is the concept. Now, the people who have the privilege of being the world's legal counterfeiters, the guys who get to print the money, they don't like this gold. They see that people are escaping their clutches. It's like, I don't want people, not being stolen from by me. I want that. So throughout all human history, they have a very simple way of using it. Like, if you want to, we all know the story that they outlawed gold. Gold was forbidden in private ownership in America for shortly after the Great Depression, up until the end of the Bretton Woods system, right? So that's a rare thing. Like that's desperate times call for desperate measures, where people aren't even allowed. In the land of the free, you can't own a yellow rock. That was very, very rare. But what they do more importantly then is they don't really care if the odd person wants to have a yellow rock, so be it. But what we cannot do is we cannot have gold being used as currency. You can't buy your goods and services. You can't do that. Absolutely not. So they get this a couple ways. One is they tax it. So if you store your gold and it doubles in value over 20 years, and then you go and buy your meal with it, you have to pay capital gains tax on the gold. So that's a problem right there. But that's not even the big one. Throughout, it's been tried many, many times. There's concepts called Liberty dollars and whatever, and it works like this. People say, hey, listen, there's a whole bunch of gold bugs out there who realize inflation is ravishing them. They want to store their wealth in gold, but then their problem is they've got to get out of gold to go and buy currency, go and buy their groceries, and that's a problem. Let's try this. Let's make gold a useful money for the 21st century, a digital money. Here's how we're going to do it. Guys, if you have gold, send in your gold or send us money and buy gold. We will put the gold in a big, beautiful vault. It'll be surrounded by guards. No one's going to steal it. And you will have an account for how much gold you sent us. And it can be an app on your phone. It can be like a PayPal thing. You log on a desktop, and you can say, I have an account, which is I have 40 grams of gold, for example, in this account. And then if you want to pay for your groceries, the other person can have an account with us. And you just say, hey, transfer 1 gram of gold from my account to that account, and the gold stays perfectly still in our vault. But we will change the ledger so that your account went down by a gram, his account went up by a gram, and you've just completed a transaction. And if ever they want to come and collect their gold, they can. It's here for them under lock and key. And this is a perfectly good solution. This works great. This would solve the world's problems very, very well. However, this problem has been tried a number of times. It's been called Liberty dollars. It's been called e-gold is another one. There's been a whole bunch. Here's what happens every single time. The guys who have the privilege of printing the money, they don't like this. And so what do? They use their power through media, through whatever else, and say, guess what, guys? We found a company that is participating in money laundering. We found a company that is participating with black market goods and services. And don't worry, everybody, we're going to protect you. We're going to save it. They send in their men with guns. They confiscate all of the gold so that the people who invested in it lose everything. And the CEO who came up with this idea, he goes to jail. All right? Shoot one, scare 1,000. People don't like doing this. This was tried several times. People think, oh, I'll try it in this jurisdiction. No, it won't. These guys run the world, and they will use armies, police, and whatever stories they need to tell the world to get public support for it, to go in and steal the gold in the vault. They will not and cannot let money be gold be used as money, it will completely defeat them in a very short amount of time if that use of gold as money gets widespread. So now we're at the story where Satoshi Nakamoto sees all of these things, and he says, okay, money needs to be all of the things that gold is: fungible, divisible, all of those things, right? There's a list of like 7 things that gold is much better at being money than fiat currency. And Satoshi sees this, that it needs to be something else as well. It needs to be able to not be vulnerable to men with guns coming and stealing. If we can increase the cost to armies, police, and governments who want to come and steal it all, or then that's going to be, we now have, and it has all the other properties of gold, then hey presto, we're going to have a way to defeat them. And soon, in one day, if it grows to be enough, then the world will no longer use their corrupt money, and their days will be numbered. So he's sitting there, and I don't know Satoshi Nakamoto, of course, but I'm just going to say this part of the story as if it's true, because it's kind of a fun way to tie it all up. Satoshi Nakamoto, we all remember, what was it called, Napster? Yeah. Napster, back in the day, you could download music, right? And so, yeah, you just, and how did Napster work? Well, Napster was a big, beautiful server with a whole bunch of songs on it, and people could just go and download music for free. Okay, the music company said, hey, those guys are downloading our music. They're not paying the royalties. This is not fair. Police, men with guns, go and stop them. They walk over, unplug the server. Napster disappears overnight. Within 2 days, something called BitTorrent is released to the world and becomes unbelievably powerful. What is BitTorrent? It is the exact same concept, except instead of the songs all being on a single big server, the songs are distributed across laptops and desktops all across the planet. I've got the song, you've got the song, you've got the song, you've got the song. And when you click download, you can download from 1,000 different sources. And so the police and the men with guns couldn't shut it down. If they come in and said, hey, someone's downloading the music from your computer, so they take the computer, okay. There's thousands, tens of thousands, and millions of other computers around the world that people are downloading that song. It's a game of whack-a-mole that they can never, ever get to and solve. So Satoshi Nakamoto, in my mind's eye, looks at this and says, aha, we need a digital money that is decentralized, just like BitTorrent is. The same way BitTorrent solved Napster's problem, we need a digital money to solve the same problem, to make money decentralized. But he has an extra problem. See, with Napster, it doesn't matter. You can copy songs, it doesn't matter. It can be 1,000 songs, 1,000,000 songs. It's perfect. How do we solve the problem of there being a digital money that is decentralized, but it's not like copying money so that people can, I've got $1, I copy it, and I spend it twice. So this is called the double spend problem in computer science. Another name it goes by is the Byzantine generals problem. And with that, now we're getting into the geek stuff. We're getting into cryptography and some cool fun stuff. The point of the story is Satoshi Nakamoto solves that problem. And now we have a decentralized money that cannot be double spent, and we can have copies of the money going around the world, millions of copies, and men with guns can shut down that node and that node and that node. And as long as there's one node still exists, then the whole network works perfectly. So the men with guns, like whack-a-mole, they can try and shut it down. It will never work. And the users can't double spend. And in doing that, the greatest and best money and the hardest money, and what's another word? The most virtuous money is the word I'm looking for. The most virtuous money the world has ever seen has been created. And the journey begins. Person by person, word of mouth through word of mouth, and a brilliant incentive structure because its limited nature. The more people that use it, the more it's in demand. Supply cannot change with Bitcoin. It's limited to 21 million. The sooner you get in before other people figure it out, the cheaper you get to buy it, the more you have. And through this virtuous cycle of the people who understand the concept and understand why it's so important, understand what problem it solves, understand for how many people it solves it, those people get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier for participating in the network. And that is the story of Bitcoin, and why, in my mind, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, Bitcoin is going to be 500,000, a million, maybe $10 million.
I love that. It's so, to me, what you just said at the beginning is like understanding what it is, and then you just went over the high level of like, You gave this, the way you just described it to me is perfect, because most people walking around have no idea about any of this. They literally just see, they get their paycheck, and all they know is that when they're going to the store to go buy the burger, whatever. I was somewhere the other day. Oh, it was like a local Denny's restaurant, and I was looking at these meals on the menu. All these meals were like $16, $17 now or something. I was like, oh my gosh, like my son used to work there. I remember we'd order these things for $10, $11, and I was like, this is like significant jump in just a short amount of time. And what people are realizing is their paychecks aren't catching up, right? It's like their wealth is, what you said, is being taken away little at a time, and actually recently a lot at a time. And so we get these jumps, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, wow, what do I do so that I can preserve my wealth, or I can build some wealth on top of that? Because I always look at that, it's like, yeah, preserve your wealth. How about we gain some wealth as well? Let's not do what everyone else does out there. Let's actually take some action. Let's figure this out. Let's get an understanding of what Bitcoin is, this digital money. So it's perfect. So we've got this perfect money, and which is kind of a little side thing. Most people don't realize that the dollars in their pocket isn't even really money. It's fiat. It's pretend money, if you want to look at it that way. It's got value because the governments, we say it has value, but Bitcoin actually has value. It's a perfect money, like you said.
So that's a really important language thing, and you nailed it, by the way. And let's tie it in, because I think it's a fun thing that not many people know. I know you know this stuff, but so fiat is Latin. It means by decree. Yeah. And the reason fiat, i.e. US dollars or euros, that the government money has money, is by decree. They say, you owe me taxes in this money. Therefore, you have to go out and earn it, and therefore it has value. It has value by decree. Bitcoin and gold has value by the free market. It says it has value. Yeah, and that's a huge difference. That it is literally the gun. Let's understand, it's guns that gives. By decree means by guns. By decree, you have to stand behind that statement is a gun. Don't pay your taxes. Men with guns will come and put you in jail, and if you resist arrest, they will shoot you. So it is money. It has value because of violence, and free market money has money because of peace, because people want it.
I love that. I love that analogy. So let's go ahead and talk about, okay, so now I understand this. Now I'm going to get an education what Bitcoin is, and it's a better way to do things. Like, so here I am, I'm working the 9 to 5. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I see that my money is devaluating, my fiat is devaluating, and I'm never going to, the thought is like, I'm never going to get ahead in life unless I do something different, unless I invest, unless I understand this wealth. For a brand new person, what are some of the things that you would recommend that we're going to learn, but how do I get started? How do I actually know, like, when to buy, when to sell, or just am I buy and hold? Like, maybe kind of address that for me. And I know you have some additional training that we're going to put a link down below where you go a lot more into detail of this. But tell us where, like the brand new person, what was some advice that you would give them to kind of get started in this journey?
Sure. Well, very high level, I mean, so begin saving your wealth in Bitcoin. And let me tell you some fun stories about this. We all know a person like this, someone who's been trying to save for a house. And they've been trying to save for a house for years and years and years, and they just can't get ahead. The reason they can't get ahead is, let's say they look at a house, in 2012 or something, and it's like, okay, to buy this $300,000 house, I might need a $30,000 down payment, so I'm going to start saving for my $30,000. And as they start saving, the value of the property is going up and up and up, and they get to $30,000 saving like 5-6 years later. The problem is, 5-6 years later, that house is now worth $600,000. Now they need $60,000 in savings. It's like, oh my God, I didn't actually get anywhere. I still got another $30,000 to go. What the hell happened? What happened was the corruption of the money, inflation. That's what happened. Compare this to some of my students who I've said, guys, begin saving in Bitcoin as soon as you can. Well, now they start saving. 5 years later, their houses, that $300,000 house is $600,000 house. They need $60,000 deposit. However, the value of the Bitcoin that they saved at is now worth $600,000, and they just buy the damn house out cash out. Right? But then the problem is like, man, I don't want to sell all my Bitcoin. This is the best investment I've ever done. So maybe they sell a little bit and they get their 60,000 deposit and then they do it that way. But I think through that analogy, people really understand. It's like, oh, if I save in dollars, I'm a sucker. I'm a loser. It is gonna kick me in the nuts. I'm gonna go nowhere in 5 years. Now, some people have a high enough income that they can go somewhere fast enough that they can get that hurdle. There's a good chunk of society who can't earn income fast enough to get over that hump, right? But this tool gives them that ability. Just save your dollars in Bitcoin, and just every single week you buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Whatever you're going to save towards your house, whatever you're going to save towards your car, whatever it is that you're saving up for, save it in Bitcoin. This works especially well for long-term things, right? Because Bitcoin, obviously, as we all know, Bitcoin goes up and Bitcoin goes down in big swings. If you're saving for something that's going to take you 5 years to save for, like your dream house or your dream car or your mega yacht, whatever it is that you're trying to get to, then save in Bitcoin. So that's rule number one. And then like services like yourself, services like mine, this is all very valuable stuff. You know, this market is the highest performing market for the last 10 years. It's going to be an unbelievably high performing market in the next 10 years. Maybe something better will come along. I don't know, but the crypto is not going to be a loser for the next 10 years. I bet my arms on that. So, you know, you've got this place to save money. You can, increase your knowledge. So I would say two things: increase your knowledge so that you have the conviction to do it and weather the storms of a 70% drawdown and not sell at the bottom. Step one. Step two, increase your knowledge, services like yours, services like mine, and there are ways that you can buy at the right time, sell at the right times, and can even maximize results and just do things a little bit smarter along the way. Those are the kinds of things.
I love that you said that, because being in the education space, you and I have similar paths. Over the years we've taught different strategies for helping people understand how to make money on the internet, how to increase their wealth, how to get out of the rat race, if you want to say it that, or just basically because bottom line, most people just don't make enough, and it's hard to get ahead. And so what I love is being able to have that long-term vision of investing in Bitcoin, but also learning these skills of how to increase that wealth so that you can learn some of these things of the right times to buy. I mean, there's always a great dollar cost averaging, we call that strategy, where you just buy at regular intervals. I'll give you an example. This is kind of cool. Every Christmas, I buy my kids $100 worth of Bitcoin. No matter what the price is, I buy them $100 worth of Bitcoin. Well, it's funny. The first year I started doing it, Bitcoin was $51,000. And then it was kind of funny to watch my kids, because the whole year they just watched that going down, going down, going down, going down. And then they were like, Dad, look, it's gone way down. And I said, just watch, just wait. So the next Christmas, I bought $100 of Bitcoin at $16,000. And so now they're sitting there, the current of, we're doing this, Bitcoin's at 29,000, a little over 29,000 right now. Now they're like, hey, I'm actually up ahead now, because this is like this DCA strategy. So if you can learn how to buy at regular intervals for your long-term strategy, and like what you just said, learn other strategies, how you can increase that wealth maybe a little faster, maybe make some of that short-term money, but then turn around and invest that at the right time. So this is my strategy as well, and I know we focus on a lot of that. And but I think like long-term, like a perfect analogy of like, I want to save money to buy a home. Boy, that's a brilliant strategy. I never actually thought of telling people something like that. So, gosh, you're a wealth of information, Max, and we've just barely touched on it today. And so, what I'd like to do is invite people. You've got a more extensive training where you teach a lot more of the nitty-gritty details and share a lot more of this knowledge, and help a brand new person kind of figure this whole thing out, how they can go increase their wealth. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link down below the description of this video, or somewhere in we're going to post this to our mastermind members as well, and post that link in there. And I would highly encourage you guys to go watch that, get some more education. What are they going to learn in that training, Max?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll do a few extra ones just because I know, just for you and your people. I'll do a few extra ones on the day that you release this. I'll do a few extra ones
Oh, awesome.
that week. So there'll be a whole bunch of people can go to all different times. So people all around the world can tune in live. So, and yeah, I will map out, it's completely free, by the way. I will map out a complete wealth creation path about how you use real estate, how you use crypto, and how you join them all in cycles to really leverage. And what I call it stacking the booms. So there's booms and busts in Bitcoin, there's booms and busts in real estate, there's booms and busts in the stock market. And what I talk about using my macro knowledge is to stack the booms. So you ride that big Bitcoin wave, you can take some profits up at the top. Bitcoin's about to fall, but usually there's something else about to skyrocket. You can jump into another asset class when it's about to skyrocket. And I actually think we're at a beautiful intersection coming here right now. Bitcoin's had its crash, and it very often happens this way. Bitcoin has had its crash. Real estate prices have come down a little bit. I'm pretty sure they're going to come a lot down more in the next couple of years. I'm also pretty confident Bitcoin's going to go up in the next couple of years. So it's weaving those two cycles together to stack the booms. And I really lay this out in a really easy to follow thing. It's just these webinars is just me on a whiteboard, just teaching as fast as I can, for as long as I can in the hour, and we just get it done. At the end of it, people come away with an absolute blueprint for how to create stupid amounts of wealth.
Awesome. Well, I think you guys are going to love that. Thank you for doing that, and then we'll go ahead and post those links to make sure you guys go watch that. If you're interested in building your wealth, if you're interested in just getting ahead in life and figuring out what the professionals do, figuring out how to win this game, and just provide more time and for your family, time to go do the things that you want to do in life, I would highly encourage you guys to go check that out. So, Max, it's been a pleasure. I think thank you for having here, and we'll have to do some more in the future. It's been a great time. So.
My absolute pleasure, Joel. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you on another video. Bye-bye.